You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steelers Nation. It's The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson with you here for the next 2 hours on your 24/7 home of the black and the gold on a Thursday where we will fully turn the page and start to look at these L.A. Chargers, the next team on tap for your Pittsburgh Steelers. Matthew, what's up? How we doing?
Fantastic, dude. How are you?
Can't complain.
Good.
Weather's holding out for us a little bit here.
Weather's great.
I feel like for the last 5-6 weeks I've been saying, all right, well, this is probably the last sunny day. Enjoy it while we can. And then it just keeps rolling.
I always think about when I walk in. I mean, it's something Dale and I used to talk about all the time. It's
the
always
wind up here
so
can
breezy
get
and
crazy.
it'll hit you hard. You can just feel it a little earlier than when you're up on top of the mountain here. It's not, I wouldn't call it a mountain. Big hill.
Big hill.
Yeah.
No, I'll take it. It's been a nice surprise, and it'll certainly be cold soon enough, but it's going to be like high 70s, 80 degrees this weekend in L.A.,
Wow.
So I will pack some shorts and wear some shorts for probably the last time in 2025 this weekend. We've got plenty to get to before Steelers and Chargers kick off on Sunday Night Football. Matt, a little moving and shaking for the Steelers this morning as they have signed defensive tackle Broderick Martin-Rhodes off of Kansas City's practice squad to the Steelers' 53-man roster. Remember, that's how that works.
Yeah.
If
You
you're
have
gonna-
to keep on your roster 4 weeks, I think.
I believe that is the line of demarcation there. But yeah, if you're going to steal from someone's practice squad, you can't just put them on your practice squad. They have to go right to the active roster, which makes sense.
Well, guys will be flying around team to team. They'll be on flights every 5 minutes.
Exactly right. And so he will move to the 53-man roster, originally drafted by the Detroit Lions, third round in 2023. He was the 96th overall pick, has appeared in 5 games, 4 tackles in his career, spent 2 seasons at Western Kentucky. Before that, Northern Alabama. Matt's still a relatively young guy.
Yeah.
Was a day 2 NFL draft pick of the Lions, but hasn't really been able to, kind of find a role to stick on with Detroit or Kansas City. What do you know about Broderick Martin-Rhodes, the newest Steeler?
Less than just about any third-round pick I can remember, to be honest with you. I could sit here and make stuff up and be like, oh, yeah, I studied his film at Western Kentucky to no end and all his preseason tape. I remember when he was taken by the Lions in the third round, many of us went, wow, that's a little early. And not a lot of production at a real small school.
Yep.
It was not a combine invite from what I remember. But I think he tested well at his pro day. He's got traits. He's got long arms. He's big. He's going to look the part. I would think he's more nose, but he's 6'5"-ish. I mean, he's not going to be a traditional Casey Hampton stump in there either.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
So
325.
again, I'm not going to
6'5".
pretend to know a ton about him, but there is ability there. There's some moldable clay at his age. I'm sure that they liked them coming out of the draft. That's usually how that works. That's where those reports start to build. They must have had a decent grade on him back then. But it really makes me wonder, why now? Because he didn't just become available yesterday. He's been on a practice squad for the whole season.
Sure.
Is Logan Lee in trouble? Is there an injury we don't know about? They're not light at defensive line, as far as I know. And like you said, he's going to be on the active roster for at least, I think, 4 weeks.
Yes. I'll be interested to see, and we should have it here before too much longer.
Yeah.
Sometime within this hour, the Steelers' latest practice report, if there is something on there that surprises us.
Probably is going to happen. Hopefully it's not something big.
Unfortunately, I'm leaning that way because, again, you put them on your active roster, you have to
It's a commitment.
You have to release somebody. Yesterday, Wednesday's practice report, which came out shortly after we got off air, Scotty Miller still not practicing with that finger. Jabril Peppers with the quad injury. Cole Holcomb still dealing with an illness. Alex Highsmith with the ankle. Isaac Seumalo with the pec. Darnell Washington with a foot. And Jonnu Smith getting a vet day. They all did not practice. Chuck Clark did return to practice. But that was yesterday's. Nobody really amongst that defensive line group there.
No, right.
So
did somebody get hurt in practice yesterday that we don't know about? I mean, I'm just speculating.
Sure.
Pure speculation.
And I mean, I think it's fair. It's only fair because a move like this, until we kind of know the corresponding move for the Steelers on that 53-man roster, invites some speculation. Like I said, I think within this hour. Certainly by the time we get out of here today, we should have an answer to that.
I would think. So Logan Lee's been inactive lately.
Yeah.
Ottaweno, I crush his name, my apologies. I thought he was a borderline roster guy, and he made it, and he's been here ever since, and he's been active a little bit lately. Could they just not be happy with him and be like, we're just going to swap 1-for-1 with him? Maybe. I don't know. I'm guessing if it's not an injury.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing,
Hey, that's all we can do for now, but we do know that the Steelers have made that move. It is official. He will be on the active roster, and we'll kind of wait to see anything corresponding moves from the team and the organization off of that.
We haven't responded much to the injury report that you just read off. Siamalu and Highsmith, I'm sure they're just like, get well, hopefully just, get to Sunday. I don't love that Peppers is still on there, though. Because he missed the game with, quote, an illness, and that was, a calf or something, I think. So,
yes.
I don't know. I'm just so intrigued with him.
I am, too. I'd like to see more of him, particularly now when you need some bodies, even with the performance of Jalen Ramsey and Duggar. You still need bodies back there. Hopefully that's maybe another, just give him an extra day here and then hit the ground running on Thursday. We'll kind of wait and see there, but I'm with you on that. And then Cole Holcomb, I don't like to see that either, because I know
lingering too, right?
I know Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson are playing at a high level. We liked what we saw from Malik Harrison in his first action back from IR.
Three of those guys out there together, fair amount.
But I still want Cole Holcomb in that mix.
Oh yeah, especially for depth, and I think maybe they found something with this Harrison package. They play it more. Everyone's calling it a 4-3. And it really is, because there's 3 linebackers on the field. True off-the-ball linebackers, and it's a 4-man front. But if you look how they play it, it's more like big nickel, with Wilson being the coverage safety guy. You know what I mean? And which is really a compliment to Wilson. To ask that much from him,
Absolutely.
I know he's a linebacker, but he was employed more like a safety, like in a big nickel.
And we know he can run. Certainly. You saw that when he was at NC State.
Yeah.
You saw that in Dublin when he ran down Jordan Addison.
It's kind of like a big nickel.
It's like a silver dollar or something like that.
Because you're afraid of the Taylor threat, and if you're going to play a lot of too high behind it, you're not going to have a lot of bodies in the box. But at least now you have bigger bodies in the box. So, just an interesting way of approaching it. Maybe that's a Colts only thing, a Taylor only thing. I don't know.
Jumbo nickel.
Yeah. Big nickel.
Big squared nickel. So, that's kind of your moving and shaking, some of the news of the day for the Steelers. Like I mentioned, we should have a Thursday practice report at some time within this hour-ish.
Yeah, I would think so.
We'll keep an eye open for that and follow up as we may here as that all rolls out and we get some clarity on these moves here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But until we do that, until we catch up with our buddy Bob Labriola in a little bit as well too, Matt, what do you say we start deep diving? It's a Thursday here. That means we turn the page. We really start to focus on the Steelers' upcoming game.
It's an interesting matchup.
Monday, Tuesday are big recap days. Wednesday's kind of a weird middle of the week day. We do some final look backs, a little look ahead. We go around campus, all that stuff.
I think I told you about my ESPN chat days. Remember when chat rooms were a thing? This is
buddy,
I bet. Pre-Twitter, I wasn't even on Twitter at this point,
ESPN
but I hosted a chat
and
every noon on Wednesday.
Okay, on
for an
ESPN.com.
hour. Yep, and the same people came and blah, blah, blah. And it was a very good time. It was kind of me in my best element, just answering questions left and right, making fun of people, answering, boom, boom, boom. And it was cool. And I'll tell 2 stories about it. But since doing that was always my line of demarcation of done talking chat time. We can talk about last week. We can talk about next week. But after the chat, it's all systems forward. Yeah, right. It was noon on Wednesday. So it was
this
boom.
Upcoming Sunday.
Yeah, and my mind still works that way. So I can tell a story.
Go for it.
My wife works at PNC.
Yes.
Doesn't matter where she works, but she's been there many, many years. And it was 15 years. I was still at ESPN. And she gets a tap on the shoulder in her cubicle. And she's like, can I help you? And she's like, can you please tell your husband that I'm not going to be in the chat today? And she's like, what are you talking about? She didn't even know if it was sports related. She didn't even know I host the chat.
He's like, what the heck are you
She's
talking about?
She's like, what are you talking about? He's like, my name's Mike from Boca Raton. but I'm in Pittsburgh. I just use that as so my people at work don't know
my
that.
internet alias.
He's probably listening. I hope he is. He was in there every week. I knew the name. He's like, I got a meeting. I can't be in the chat. I haven't missed one in like years.
That's hysterical.
And I knew you were a PNC employee. I searched you down just to tell Matt that I'm missing his chat. It's like the first one ever. She's like, all right, man, that's cool. She's like, dude.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was one of her first like several stalker moments. Slight stalker moments.
That's
so
hilarious.
Like, yeah.
That is fun. Like he's like
in the day though, yeah, he couldn't like tweet me or
like he's like a regular like a restaurant or a bar or something, and he's like, I just don't want them to be worried I'm not showing up. I don't want them to worry
about
if
Cliff
not
doesn't
being...
show up. Yeah, right. Yeah, you better call Coach. You know.
The legend of Matt Williamson, the wonderful world.
But she was a little taken aback
of Matt. Yeah, I would be too, especially then.
Well, then, right.
It's like, what is a chat? What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? It was a different time, and she didn't know people even knew who I was.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, pretty good stuff.
That's fantastic.
I hope you're still listening, Mike. You were a good contributor in the chat room.
Mike
those
and
are the
Boca
good old
Raton.
days. Yeah.
Hope all is well down there in Boca Raton or wherever you may be. Okay, jumping into Matt's stats here. That's a funny one.
Plentiful packet as usual.
I don't think there was any professional way for me to transition out of that funny story. We'll just jump right into the Matt stats packet. Matt, the Steelers had just 38 rushing yards last week, the fifth fewest of any team this season, and the fewest yards for any team that has won a game this year.
Yeah.
Is that is that a
I don't know what to take of this.
I don't either, because
I don't think all of a sudden they stink at run the ball.
I certainly don't. And I told you, it's very weird to evaluate, because when you go back and watch the film, I thought the offensive line played pretty well.
I did too. And even like if we correlate it back to the second half of the Packers game, only 3 carries for Warren. Like, you got to stay a little more dedicated to it. Like, another stat in there that I think is really telling is the Chargers are at the absolute top of the league in time possession. Steelers are the absolute bottom of the league in time possession. And the more I think about this matchup, I think the Chargers are going to try to run the ball a little more than they have, just to make life easier on their O-line.
Sure.
Like, they use some guys that are a lot like Ricard. I mean, they have 2 dudes, Matlock and Fisk, I think his name is, that are D tackles by trade, that are out there hammerhead blocking tight end type guys that are like 290. And I wonder if they're going to use some of that bigger personnel. Will Disley's a blocking tight end. He missed last week, but I think he's supposed to be back. Haven't seen a practice report. But I'm wondering, that's where I'm going with this, is time possession yet again. I mean, I've been harping on this. We've been talking about this all year, that time possession needs to be better. Well, you are playing one of the best teams in the league in time possession, and you're one of the worst. So 28 yards or whatever on the ground from the Steeler ground game ain't going to cut it.
It's not going to cut it.
It's not going to cut it. Right?
No, it absolutely is not. And I'm confident that they're going to get back to running the football the way that we had seen. But it has been 2 weeks of not their best showing in that department. Week and a half. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
the first half was good. Right.
First half against the Packers was good.
Yeah.
And then
6 quarters.
And then only 3 carries in the second half, which was a head scratcher, particularly when you had a 2-possession lead and started with the football in the third quarter.
And maybe I'm misremembering, but it feels like it wasn't like the run game was just getting blown up left and right against the Colts either. It just didn't do a lot of it.
Yeah. 16 carries for Jaylen Warren, I think it was.
Now, their super quick passing game, the Colts was like the super quickest of all, does act as an extension to the run. You're getting the ball in people's hands, eating clock, but it's not the same as bludgeoning the middle of a defense with, O-lineman coming off the ball, tackling a running back over and over, as opposed to pushing Calvin Austin out of bounds.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Matt, a bunch more of these stats that I want to get into with you. Let's pick up where we're leaving off here on the other side. We are due for a break. Let's get that in. We will continue to swim around the stats that Matt has provided when we return on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Rolling along on The Drive here on a Thursday afternoon. We're going to talk to our buddy Bob Labriola in a few minutes, but before we get to Labs, we will continue to parse through, to comb over some of these Matt's stats here as it relates to Week 10 in the NFL already. We're like over the halfway mark.
Yeah,
here.
we officially are.
Maybe we should revisit some of those like Coach of the Year, MVP conversations.
Yeah, that might be a good Tuesday conversation next week or something like that, you know?
Let's continue here, though, Matt. This one, I don't know if I found this. In some ways, I found this surprising. In some ways, I did not. But the stat that you have in here of the Steelers' defense faces the lowest percentage of deep ball passes in the NFL, just 7.5% of the time.
Yes.
There was part of me that was like
20 or more yards.
20 or more yards.
Yeah.
There was part of me that was like, man, that kind of surprises me when you consider they started the season banged up in the secondary. Deshaun Elliott and Joey Porter Jr. were out.
I wouldn't say it's a super fast secondary.
Slay's been banged up at points, right?
Yeah.
Like Deshaun Elliott's banged up again now. But then the other side of that is...
And you know that they've allowed a lot of wide receiver production.
Correct.
That's in there, too. A lot.
But then the other side of it, and I got to think this is a huge part for these teams, is also everybody knows how good the Steelers' pass rush is. And when you play against the guy, when you got Watt and Highsmith and Cam and Herbig, and here comes Jalen Ramsey with a couple sacks out of the slot, you know? Patrick Queen's had sacks this year. Benton has a few. They just are like, hey, when we play these guys, they know how to get after the quarterback. We've got to get rid of that thing quickly. We don't have time to stand back there and throw the ball 30, 40, 50 yards downfield.
I think that's 1,000% it, you know, because, well, it's the majority of it. So I've been doing Matt Stats now for many years, and they've basically for the last handful of years, they've been at the bottom of the league. I mean, in terms of, they're always an extreme in terms of deep ball faced. You know, they're always at the lowest percentage, and it all comes down to the pass rush to me. We do not want to protect for that to happen as long. Now, I do think there was absolutely times early in the season, well, not even that early, recently, you know, the Bengals game comes to mind, where you're just giving away short completions like candy too, and I can get if I can get a first down on one throw 6 yards and then he runs 4 yards after the catch, or if I know I can nickel and dime you on off coverage and you give no answer for Jamar Chase, why am I going to hold the ball to drive it down the field? But overall, the production they've allowed to wide receivers is far too great. I mean, it's far too much. But it hasn't been bombs over the top or just getting ripped deep downfield because everyone fears this pass rush, folks. I know some people forget, man, why are they paying all this money for Watt and Hayward, and the pass rush doesn't live up to it. They should have traded Watt, and Highsmith, why is he's always hurt, blah, blah. The league tells you. I mean, if you watch all 22, every week, no one's holding the ball against these guys.
Nobody.
I mean, they know that they fear it to no end.
And when they do, it ends up looking like it did on Sunday.
That's what you get. Right.
That's what you get on Sunday is
most times that's what you get.
Five offensive turnovers from Indianapolis and a bunch of sacks for Daniel Jones and just an offense.
A rattled quarterback that's not real thrilled about it. Right.
Never found its rhythm, never found level footing there.
Yep.
I know that there's a direct correlation in that, and we saw it play out just a few days ago.
So we mentioned this yesterday, that Porter's the only corner they've drafted outside of round 7 in the last 6 drafts. And
that's a big number.
It's a lot. It's a big deal because people do draft corners high. They're hard to find. And the Steelers, for better or worse, have basically filled their corner position from free agents or trades from other teams, older dudes. But I think part of the reason they do that is corners on draft day aren't as expensive as tackles, but they're really expensive, you know. And if you're picking 20th, you do not get Stingley or, you know, Sauce or those dudes. They got the no-brainers. And they know, okay, maybe our corners are a little long in the tooth. And I'm not even talking about this group, but this group applies, as well as really I'm talking for like almost the last decade.
Sure.
But they also don't have to run 4.2s because no one's going to go over the top on us. You know what I mean? Like, it's all complimentary. I mean, like, they know that you know that we know that you know. You know what I mean?
Yes. And you are right. Like, when you just watch how other teams around the NFL game plan, it tells you what everyone's thinking.
Yeah, oh, yeah. They don't hide that stuff. You know?
They don't hide that stuff. And what they're thinking is when you're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, you better get rid of that ball in about 2.3 seconds, or else here comes some pressure. Here comes the boom.
Now, we complimented the Steelers a lot in the front office for recognizing that and going and get Slay and Ramsey and blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm not saying they misevaluated those guys, but they also haven't quite worked out where they're the press man dudes to make you tap that ball as much as we
an extra
thought.
second.
Right. Doesn't mean they're bad players, but it's not quite what they were shopping for in terms of completing the picture, you know?
I think that's fair. Hopefully what we saw on Sunday will be replicated a little bit again this week against the Chargers. But you're right.
I would think Herbert's going to want to have his hands extra quick.
Because
he doesn't have that Colts O-line protected.
No, he does not.
Right.
Not even close, in fact.
mean, that Brandon Thorne thing I sent you yesterday, I'm sure the Colts are in the top 2 or 3. They
were like 3 or 4, I believe.
And the Chargers are last.
And the Chargers were 32nd.
Right.
I'm not good at math, Matt, but that's a glaring difference.
Pretty good discrepancy.
The Steelers have 27 sacks in the NFL. That's third most in the league. 66 quarterback hits, second most in the league. That's also with the Steelers also having a bye week, which some of these top defenses.
The ones above them have not had
the Broncos haven't had a bye week. Yeah. And Matt, that reminds me.
And also, I never put it in there because I don't 1,000% agree with it or believe it, but they were like second in pressures too.
Yes.
I just don't usually put that in the stat pack just because it's a little foggy to me sometimes.
You and I had a show where we did some Steelers predictions before the season started, and one of the ones that I made, and I don't know, we might have made it together or whatever. I just had it in my show notes from the preseason stuff. Was so last year Steelers finished second in the league in turnovers forced. Only Buffalo had more.
Yeah,
they finished 16th in sacks.
Right,
dead average. We spent a ton of time talking about that.
That was one of our big bullet point off-season goals.
And one of I think what we did in this one segment was like I rattled off 4 or 5 predictions, and you told me yes or no.
Okay, I remember that.
And then you rattled off a few, and I told you yes or no.
Like we want to get like yards per carry up.
Yes.
Red zone off.
Like I remember one of them was like Mason Rudolph plays in over under 1.5 meaningful games.
Yeah.
Fortunately we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, hopefully we're on the under on that still.
Let's keep it that way. One of them was Kenny Pickett ends up starting a game against the Steelers. Well, that ship sailed whenever he was traded from the Browns to the Raiders. But one of mine, Matt, was Steelers finished top 3 in the NFL in turnovers forced and in sacks. So far, so good. Halfway through the year here. And I think
that's the backbone of their defense and maybe the organization. To be
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Matt, let's see here. Steelers now +9 in turnover differential. Only the Chicago Bears are better. Only the Chicago Bears have more takeaways. So the Steelers third in sacks now, second in takeaways. Steelers lead the league with 8 fumble recoveries. The Chargers, for example, just have 1. The Steelers have only lost 2 fumbles. The Chargers are at -4 turnover differential, 21st in the league.
Yeah.
Does this feel like another week? Listen, I'm not saying the Steelers defense is going to force 5 turnovers like they did against Indy or against the Patriots. But is this another week where if you can win that by +2, you're in really good shape?
Really good shape, yeah. So there's 3 things in this game I've really been harping on that, to me, vastly favor the Steelers. Their defensive line against the
obviously
destroyed Chargers O-line. Yes.
I mean, it's like Alabama against the FCS school.
Yeah, I mean, it's 1 or 2 versus 32. I mean, it's, special teams as a whole. This has not been a very good special teams year at all for the Chargers. Dicker the kicker's all right, but otherwise they have not gotten a lot of value out of special teams. And turnovers is the other one. I think we talked about that chart that Pro Football Focus put out.
Yesterday,
where Steelers were top right, Chargers were bottom left when you combine the value of turnovers and special teams. So I don't think Herbert all of a sudden has become turnover prone, but he's under pressure so much and he's had some tip balls. He's had some bad luck, but he's on pace to throw, I think, 15 interceptions. Last year he threw 3. And I was talking to Rob King today. I didn't know this. Once in a while he'll surprise me with a stat, but he said Herbert's touchdown to interception ratio in 2024 last year was the best in the NFL since like Rodgers' last MVP year.
Interesting.
Coincidentally. You know, I'm sure you'll hear that on the air. I have a feeling.
I bet you Rob will regurgitate that at some point.
And I'm like, oh yeah, Herbert only had 3 picks last year. I don't know how many touchdowns he threw, but a bunch. And we only threw 3 picks. So he is not a turnover prone guy. But because he's getting hit so much and
they're out their top 2 running backs.
Exactly. They have some dudes carrying the ball that they don't trust as much as the other top guys. Like I think Vidal's put the ball on the floor or on the carpet a few times too. You know, they're younger, unproven people touching the ball, besides Herbert, but he's under pressure all the time.
And this also paints a pretty picture for the Steelers. Steelers in terms of points off of turnover differential are plus.
I know that gets a little convoluted, but
points off of turnover differential.
Yes.
are plus 50 over their opponents. So the Steelers have gotten 50 more points off of turnovers than the teams that they have played.
Yeah.
The Chargers, Matt, negative 36. That's
total opposite.
Next to last in the NFL.
Next to last. Yeah, again, that's huge. Like, you probably remember better than I do, but Rodgers after the game was talking about how if we're going to get the ball handed to us over and over, we got to score more points. He wasn't happy with the offense.
Yeah.
But they still got 24 points off turnovers.
Sure.
You know, I mean, it's
Sure.
still 24 points you put on the scoreboard that directly thank you from the defense, et cetera, and the muff punt, you know.
Sure.
Actually, they don't count that because the Caleb Johnson screw up, for whatever reason, for NFL.com,
it
is not counted. And I don't think the muff punt didn't end up directly in a.
Sure.
Okay, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, because they didn't score any points off of that muff punt from Indianapolis.
Right.
Yeah, they.
I'm not sure if they count that or not, but they did not count the Caleb Johnson screw up because one of my match
technically
stats
wasn't a turnover.
Right.
Which is weird.
Because one of my match stats up till like week 6 was the Steelers have not allowed 1 point off of turnovers they allowed. And I got a bunch of tweets. I'm like, well, what about Caleb Johnson? I'm like, I don't know why they don't count it. I'm not an official scorer.
Yeah.
I just get this stuff from NFL.com. You know, so I'm going to trust the league on that. But I do want to throw that out there.
No, that makes a ton of sense. And then, I mean, you saw it. TJ Watt gets that strip sack fumble recovery. Steelers go right down the field and score.
Yeah.
Peyton Wilson, I mean, back-to-back possession. It happened within the span of 2 minutes. Peyton Wilson gets that interception, takes it down close to the shadow of the end zone. The Steelers are able to score.
Boom. Right.
That's what they continue doing that off of turnovers and have some longer 10, 11, 12, 13 play touchdown drives and then we're really cooking.
Yeah, then you're really cooking, right.
And speaking of that, Matt, that would certainly help with the time of possession. That would certainly help with getting outsnapped by your opponents. The Chargers held the ball for over 34 minutes last week. They average over 35 minutes over the last 3 weeks. That's the most in the NFL. Nearly 36 minutes of time of possession the last 3 weeks, most in the NFL. Compared to the Steelers, just a little over 27 and a half minutes. The Chargers rank second in that category. Pittsburgh ranks 30th.
Yeah.
So this feels to me like if you're going to start getting that moving in the right direction, I understand the Chargers do this very well, but it feels like you can limit them here. Like,
yeah,
you can stymie that run game with what they have with the offensive line, make Herbert have to throw the ball 40 sometimes, get them off the field in a lot of 3 and out or a first down and out type situations, and hopefully be able to run the ball better than you did last week.
Now, if this were SNR Drive, you know, as opposed
Chargers
to
Nation Radio,
exactly, I would say
weather would be nice.
It would be. I would think that the folks on their end of things and in their building right now are saying, we're really what's our big advantage? Time of possession. Holding the football. We got to stay out of 3rd and longs. You know, we can't block anybody. You know, but if we can hold the football and get big people in the game and really eat clock, and Steelers don't run the ball very well, that's one of our paths to victory for sure. And the whole season backs it up. You know,
it's a credit to them that they're so good in that department when they have a offensive line that's shattered and they're down their top 2 running backs.
1,000%. And I think a lot of it's Herbert. Yeah, I mean, just he runs smartly. Mm-hmm. He's adding a lot with his legs just in terms of rushing. I think we brought this up, but he's the leader among all quarterbacks in rushing yards.
Yeah.
Which is shocking. I mean, Lamar's hurt, was hurt, but still, you don't put him in that light. And he is turning the ball over more than you'd like, but he's making so many throws and keeping drives alive, too.
And to kind of piggyback off of that and to paint the picture even more clearly, these are some impressive numbers for the Chargers. Again, particularly when you consider how banged up they've been on offense. They've produced 47 more first downs than their opponents.
Yeah.
They average nearly 88 more yards per game than their opponents. That's the best in the league. The Steelers average nearly 96 yards less per game than their opponent. That's 30th out of 32 in the league.
Exactly.
And Matt, this is impressive. The Chargers have converted 13.5 basically percent more 3rd downs than their opponent. That's also the league's highest differential.
Huge differential, right?
Dude, they know how to move the football. They know how to get first downs. They know how to convert 3rd downs.
They do. And now they're undefeated in this one. Just I saw this morning. They're undefeated in games Joe Alt has finished.
Okay.
You know, so
that's a huge difference.
That's a huge difference too. I mean, there's some discrepancy of when he's been on the field versus not, but still, I mean, those are huge numbers that you just cited versus their opponents and the stuff the Steelers have not been good at, yardage differential, things like that, where Harbaugh's a good coach. Folks might not like him. When I do a show with Mike Pursuta later, I am not going to say that in front of him.
Mike Pursuta doesn't like Jim Harbaugh. I haven't heard him talk about that before.
There will definitely be the word cheater thrown up on that show, I can promise you, with Merrill. But he understands, much like Tomlin and his brother and these guys have done it such a long time, possess the football, be the more physical team, understands past the victory in this league when you don't have all your cards.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. I bet the turnovers are making them crazy.
Running the ball and playing physical is a path to victory in every era of football, no matter what. And, yeah, you're right. And again, piggybacking off of that leads to Aaron Rodgers 0-4 against Jim Harbaugh. 2 regular season games, 2 playoff games. Harbaugh is one of just 2 coaches, Bruce Arians being the other, that Rodgers has yet to defeat that he has faced a minimum of 3 times.
Yeah, and I don't know if I look too much into that. Does Harbaugh have his number? I'm sure they were really good.
To be fair, a lot of those were like really good Packers against the really good Niners.
I'm assuming,
in the NFC Championship
certainly
game.
In the playoffs, right? Yeah, right. I don't think. I put it in there because it's interesting. I didn't put it in there because I think there's
real rhyme or reason to it.
Right.
And it is still, 4 games.
Right.
It's not nothing. It's not a massive sample size.
Yeah, he's not 10-0 against them.
Correct. But I did find that one interesting, certainly.
Yeah. I did think it was interesting.
We'll get into some more Matt stats in hour number 2, but on the other side, to close down this first hour of the drive, we'll catch up with our buddy Bob Labriola, get his thoughts on the win over the Colts, and of course, what he thinks is going to transpire out in Southern California against the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. We'll talk to Bob Labriola on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Back on the drive, and I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
Yeah.
The Lord of Living in His Fears is not answering his phone.
Yeah.
The Dean of Doom is leaving us on red here.
Give him an earful when you see him.
We'll have to give Labs some grief when we see him this weekend because listen, I tried calling him 3 times, Matt, but no answer from our.
Maybe we'll get in touch with him in the second hour. Who knows?
From our good friend Bob Labriola. Yeah, I'll see if he shoots me a text back. Hopefully everything's all right with him, and he just had a little scheduling conflict or something going on. But very un-Labs like. He is.
He's a rock steady dude.
He's Mr. Reliable, but hey, such is life in the National Football League. And, Matt, we can find something else to talk about. And with that, maybe you want to do some of this around the league, like mid-season awards.
Yeah, we were talking about maybe doing it next week, but let's do it now.
Might as well, since we have 15 minutes to kill here in absence of the Dean of Doom. Let's get right into it. Rookies of the year. Defensive Rookie of the year. Carson Schwarzenegger, Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
Which way you leaning here?
So I think we need to look at this either. We got to set a little bit of parameters. If it's year to date, I don't want to do predictions. Like who's going to end up winning it.
Correct.
Who deserves it most till now. But the thing is, Schwarzenegger's out for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Like, I know he has no chance to win it, but I think he's
would be sure out the rest of the year?
I think so.
Okay.
He's out too long to win the award. At least that's for sure. No question about that.
That's a bummer for him.
It stinks because he's a really promising young linebacker, and he probably would got my vote as best defensive rookie to date. But he has no chance of winning it. Abdul Carter's been really good too, and that's the boring one. That's the lowest odds in Vegas since the draft. He doesn't have a ton of sacks, and I don't often cite pressures, but he's near the top of the league in pressures. So he's impacting games a lot.
Yeah, there's not.
It's not a good class of defense.
I was just going to say there's not someone who's really standing out in that regard, but I think that's about where we are now currently. Offensive Rookie of the Year, is it Tyler Warren's award to lose? I
presume. Igbuka was off last week and was a little banged up before that, but I think they're having very similar years. I don't know who I'd vote on to go forward. I think I'd give it to Warren right now. Now, it's unfortunate O-linemen have no chance at this, but probably the rookie who's played the best is Zabel, the Seattle guard.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been fantastic on one of the best
Tough
offenses in the league.
Tough to win that award as an offensive lineman.
A guard ain't winning it, guys.
Yeah,
right.
Emeka Ibuka could maybe.
I think he's very much in the mix.
Yeah. No, there's some more.
There's definitely more competition.
There's more
there.
competition, more candidates on the offensive side of the ball there.
Like Genty was the leader in the clubhouse before we played a snap, but I don't know if any of these running backs have a shot. I don't think Dart really has a shot right now. Ward doesn't really have a shot.
Yeah. Coach of the year, Matt. This one's very interesting. There's a lot of viable candidates here. Shane Steichen, of course. I think Mike Vrabel is in this conversation.
Yeah.
Sean McVay. Kyle Shanahan, if they can continue doing what they're doing.
Just keep winning. I think I'd go with Steichen, and I don't want to overreact to 1 week. You know, I mean, because a week ago when we previewed the Colts, I said, I think he should be Coach of the Year. Okay, you lose one game to the Steelers, who are a good team. I don't think you just throw everything else away that you've done to this point. He would still get my vote. But Vrabel's coming on really strong. They haven't lost in a long time.
They haven't, and we've talked about their schedule, how favorable it is going forward. I mean,
they're going to go to the playoffs.
They could win 11 games.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to the playoffs. But
I'm not trying to take this off the tracks, but we did a Wednesday show with Tom and Tim last night, and going into that show, I've been kind of under the assumption that the AFC North would only put one team in the playoffs. I'm not so sure anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, because I could see the Chargers falling away. I could see Jacksonville falling away. Houston is starting Mills this week. I think, when you look at the playoff picture, I think the Bills and Patriots are going. I got to think the Broncos and probably the Chiefs are going. The Colts, whoever wins the North. And then there's one more spot. Could it be Baltimore and Pittsburgh? I didn't think that was possible, but now I'm leaning that way. If the Chargers O-line situation just derails their season.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
It certainly is. We'll continue to monitor those Baltimore Ravens and what they do in a tough one in Minnesota this weekend. Defensive Player of the Year, Matt. Nick Bonito, Will Anderson. I think Will Anderson and Myles Garrett are certainly in this conversation, but their teams have losing records.
I know.
You got to at least be viable in some regard.
I would give it to Garrett. I know people hate when I talk anything good about this guy, and their defense has been good. Their team is terrible. I just think he's clearly the best defensive player in the league right now, and I think he's clearly having his best season. What I hate about this and I love about this is anytime I talk about Myles Garrett, he seems to do his worst work against the Steelers, which, again, that's what I love about it, but it makes my cause so much worse. Well, I just watched him against the Steelers. He hardly did anything. I'm like, yeah, but then the next game he had 5 sacks. He's playing the run better than ever. I mean, he's a monster. Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the angry tweets to start.
I know they're coming.
Now, and what might be along with Coach of the Year, most intriguing one of these races, Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah,
Jonathan
Taylor, his case got worse, though.
Jackson Smith-Njigba.
I say Smith-Njigba is really strong. Yeah.
I mean, there's some real candidates here.
I know it's just 1 week, and I kind of talking on both sides of my mouth where I'm not going to hurt Steichen for it. But I think Smith-Njigba gets the nod over Taylor because Taylor just had a bad game.
Yeah, as we stand here today on Thursday, November 6th.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
But that's still a pretty good race.
Yes, it is. And then, Matt, MVP. Sam Darnold, Matthew Stafford, Patrick Mahomes.
I don't think people look at Darnold and Stafford
Allen.
strong enough. Darnold and Stafford.
They're
Stafford's going to the Hall of Fame. He's got a lot of accolades. He's first overall pick, blah, blah. But Darnold's having as good a season as any quarterback in the league. There's some recency here, too, because the Bills just beat the Chiefs. And Mahomes would have been my vote before that game, but it's only one game.
Yeah.
So Mahomes is kind of losing some steam. Allen's gaining some steam with that win. I'd give it to Stafford, though. I mean, his touchdown interception ratio is unbelievably good. There's been no bad games for the Rams. I know they're not perfect, but I would give it to Stafford.
I think he's got a really good shot.
Yeah.
This one's still wide open. It can go a lot of different ways down the stretch here.
Lamar's going to be out of it. He just doesn't play enough. But
yeah.
I mean, some of the usual suspects.
Baker Mayfield's faded a little bit, but
yeah, he could rebound.
If he has a couple huge weeks, he could rebound. But yeah, I think You know what, Stafford? I certainly
Herbert was
think
actually getting some buzz in the
Herbert
first month or
was
so.
getting some buzz, but that's
he's
just
going to have a lot to
ask.
overcome. Yeah,
no doubt. So there's some thoughts on some individual awards, kind of at the mid-season point here. I just got a text from Bob Labriola.
Oh, good.
He's good to go.
Cool.
So let's take. We'll do a little bit shorter here. We'll come back, start hour number 2 with a beefier segment with Labs on the other side. We'll do all that and more in hour number 2. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, halfway home on the Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Hour number 2 of the Drive here as we roll along, and we go to the phone lines to catch up with the Dean of Doom, the Lord of living in his fears. Of course, the Steelers historian, Bob Labriola. Labs, thank you for taking the time as always. As always, plenty we want to discuss with you here, so let's get right into it. An incredible effort by this Steelers defense on Sunday against the Colts. Forcing 5 turnovers, another on special teams for 6 in total against a team that only had 4 turnovers going into that in their prior 8 games. So much of that was being able to get after Daniel Jones, and I think another big part of that was the stabilization of the back end with Jalen Ramsey and Kyle Duggar. That's going to be the same kind of deployment this week. Is that something that you expect is here to stay, at least for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, in terms of the lineup, how the players are going to be aligned, yes, I do. But I really think that the key to the game against the Colts and the key to the game this Sunday against the Chargers, and really to me the key to every game moving forward when it comes to how the defense is supposed to look, it's got to start with stopping the run. This defense can just not allow the opposing team to use the running game as a weapon, because then you can't get to your pressure packages, you can't get after the quarterback, and all of the takeaway stuff and the sacks and the momentum and all that isn't as possible. So whatever they did to stop the run certainly to me is the most important thing. Yes, Ramsey moving to free safety, not only his play there, but helping Kyle Duggar to get acclimated quickly and be, beyond just a good fill-in guy. I mean, he was a positive as a starting safety. So, I think it's going to be a different kind of running game this Sunday night against the Chargers. They don't have a Jonathan Taylor, but they get it done by committee a little bit. So if you're going to ask me what I really hope to see Sunday night from the Steelers defense is first stop the run. Then I think that's the key that unlocks the door, and then all those other things are possible.
Makes sense. Labs, like when you combine special teams contributions and turnover contributions, the Steelers are the best team in the league. The Chargers happen to be about the worst, oh, by the way. Now, you've been around this team a long time, and consistently turnovers, special teams are great strengths of the Pittsburgh Steelers under Mike Tomlin and this coaching staff overall. I can't believe that's an accident. I mean, all these people are like, oh, this Tomlin voodoo. I mean, how does he squeeze winning seasons out? He understands how to win in the margins like that.
Well, just from being around this franchise for a very, very long time, special teams were probably the worst part of the dynasty of the 70s. Chuck Noll was not a big special teams guy. He was the last coach in the league to hire a full-time special teams coach. Bill Cowher came to the Steelers he was a defensive coordinator as the Chiefs, but he had broken into the league as a coach of special teams with the Browns. He had some issues with special teams too. The Steelers franchise history with special teams. I remember when Danny Smith got hired, I went to high school with him. And so I said to him, kiddingly, I said, I'm going to write you a history of the special teams of this franchise. I said, it's going to surprise you and scare you. But,
so they won despite special teams for a lot of years.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Like, just real quick, I don't want to get too much in the weeds for this, but
please.
Super Bowl 10,
mm-hmm.
Chuck Noll went for it on 4th and 9 near midfield at the 2-minute warning with a 4-point lead against Dallas in a Super Bowl. He just turned it over to the defense.
Because he didn't trust the punter at all, right?
He didn't. Well, they gotten one blocked. Walden was awful. Super Bowl 10 was also the game, let's not forget, when Cliff Harris was patting Roy Jarrell on the head.
Mm-hmm. Lambert slammed
for
him on his
missing
head.
field goals. Yeah. So, I mean, these were the things, even those teams had to deal with. So, but Danny Smith is very, very, I don't want it to come across as, we went to high school together, so I'm saying good things about him. But his detail, his attention to detail, his video study is unmatched. Excuse me. And really, the Steelers, in my opinion, their special teams, in terms of things like kick blocking, executing a lot of the, non-glamorous things.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'm not talking about returning kicks for touchdowns, but kick blocking, the Steelers are always
top of the league,
up close to the top of the league, doing that, and that's significant.
Massive,
so,
yeah.
I give him a lot of that credit, but yeah, I mean they are able to, as you mentioned, live in the margins with this team, and to me there's nothing wrong with that, because those points count the same as you get on either offense or on defense.
And they always
take away.
And they also keep 4 or 5 guys on the roster that it's not their only job as a special teamer, but it's job number one. Killebrew, Pierre, those guys,
Yeah, I mean, Mike Tomlin is willing to, consider, I guess that's a good word, keeping a guy on the roster because of what he does on special teams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember for one of his, Mike Tomlin shows that, I do with him, I asked him when it was around roster cutting time, I said, is it possible for a guy, to make this team as a special teams guy and not a returner? And he said, yeah, absolutely. Miles Killebrew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He said, he's the team captain. He was an all-pro last year. So, yeah, he's willing to consider a roster spot for a guy like that. And I think that kind of commitment, or, whatever you want to call it, not only sends a message to the guys on those teams or the guys trying to find spots on game day or helmets on game day or anything. I mean, it just kind of, I think, shows what you think of special teams, and guys can see that they can get themselves a nice NFL check by being good at it. Work hard at it, pay attention, study it, because there are a lot of those block kicks are not happenstance. It's not that Cam Hayward knows where he throws up a hand and he gets lucky and blocks an extra point or gets a hand on a field goal or something or whatever it might be. I mean, that's video study, that's repetition, that's practice.
That's like LeBeau's blitz package. I mean, it's like, it's finding the weakness in protection, and right, absolutely,
right. It's a coordinated thing. So yeah, and hey, that if that can win you a game, that kind of stuff, it's a difference between 10-7, 9-8, 10-7, 11-6. I mean, it's you start looking at that game difference at the end of the season.
It's huge.
And that can be a significant one game.
Yeah. And having Boswell doesn't hurt.
Well, right.
In addition to,
because he is I don't know. He's the best, and I think he's been the best for a couple of seasons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Tucker still had the reputation and all of that kind of stuff, and I think a lot of those awards, All-Pro, Pro Bowl, guys vote for that stuff, or media votes for that stuff. They just vote what they voted last year. I don't know how much the All-Pro voters, beyond looking at stats, who's the best kicker.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
of course,
it's
right.
not real. Right. It's
just
not
check the box for
realistic
Tucker again. Right.
Yes, check the box for Tucker again. Oh, look at all the field goals he made. Okay, yeah, okay.
Bob Labriola with us here on the Drive. Labs, I did want to ask you, one of the things that Matt and I discussed a little bit before having you on here was the Steelers' run game and Jaylen Warren, and how we think the offensive line is playing better, but it hasn't necessarily translated to success in the run game. I think just particularly over the last 6 quarters, they were really good in that department in the first half against Green Bay. 81 rushing yards in the first 30 minutes against Green Bay. But the last 6 quarters, not quite up to snuff. How do they get back to kind of that commanding ground game that we've seen this Sunday in L.A.?
I would tease you, Wes, knowing you're a Mountaineer fan, and say, it all depends on whether the center plays great.
That's right. It's all on 54.
But I wouldn't mean that. I think the Colts were pretty good at it, stopping the run, and I do believe that even when the Steelers had Jerome Bettis, when the Steelers had Franco Harris, when they great running teams are what you think of yourself as a great running team, or you've proven it statistically that you are. I think when you're playing a quality opponent, if that opponent commits to stopping the run, both in terms of the personnel that they assemble and how they play, it's hard to run in the NFL. It just is. I'm not making any excuses for against the Colts, but Buckner's really good. Zaire Franklin is really good. And, those guys in there, it's to me, it's similar to what the Steelers did with Jonathan Taylor. You commit to this.
Yeah.
We're going to stop this guy. And I think it can't happen if that becomes a primary focus and you have, players who are paying attention and doing what they're told. You can stop the run. So
the defense has the advantage of, I can put enough people here that you can't block everybody.
Right.
Because you can sacrifice other
typical
things.
Running play.
Yeah.
You got the quarterback who's handing the ball off, the running back who's running the ball.
They're not blocking
anybody. The defense has 11 guys going against 9.
Right.
They should be able to handle that.
Yeah. Calvin Austin's not going to blow up a linebacker, right.
Right, exactly. So, flipping it around, I think that I think Aaron Rodgers had a lot on the ball when he was talking about, he liked the play calls, but there had to be better execution, and he started with himself. There were some instances of some guys not being where they were supposed to be. Sometimes that can either happen on a possession down and you have to punt, so you have fewer snaps to get your running game established. There's all kinds of things like that are kind of interwoven. I don't think the Steelers are the kind of team yet that they're going to say, okay, it's time to run the ball now. We have a 10-point lead. There's 6 minutes left. Here we go. We're just going to drain 4 or 5 minutes off the clock by running the football down your throat. I just don't think they're that kind of team. Mm-hmm. And I also don't think that that's really possible in today's NFL. But anyway, you want to be able to, find the sweet spot between being able to run when everyone knows you're supposed to be running, or maybe you look at it as your offense needs to be able to move the chains when everybody knows you need to drain the clock. So I think a lot of it is Rodgers and what he can do with the receivers. Guys need to get open. They need to understand what is at stake, or what the situation. Mike Tomlin talks about situational football so much. I think that's a situation in itself. Guys need to catch the ball. There were a couple of drops last week. But again, good enough to win. And I think, though, that if the passing attack does a little bit better, possesses the ball, there aren't any, I don't know, like fumbles when you're trying to hurdle a guy after you already had a first down in the fourth quarter to keep a drive moving, or, I saw some, how would I call it, maybe misreading which way to run with the ball when you get the ball in the flat or in the open field, trying to maybe make more of it than is there, and instead of settling for 4 or 5 yards, you end up maybe only getting 1 or losing, those kinds of things. But I'm not going to be the Dean of Doom today. I'm sorry, fellas. Beat the Colts, really good team, and the Steelers, I thought, looked good defensively, really good defensively. Or let me say this, like the plan was for them to look defensively when all these people were assembled. So now that they've done it, they can use that as internal fuel or whatever, motivation, because then they can say to themselves, well, we've done this before, so we can do it again.
Labs, last thing I have for you is on that defense, a young pup, Peyton Wilson, in his second year, to me, is really starting to level up and take his game to the next level. Is that something you're seeing too? You think the team's really happy with him right now, Peyton Wilson?
Oh, how could you not be?
Yeah,
I mean, you're playing, as I mentioned, Jonathan Taylor. He leads the team with 13 tackles. Peyton Wilson. Mm-hmm. He had an interception. Okay, so then he also got his hands on, batted a ball in the air that turned into an interception.
Yep.
So he's making plays, obviously against the run, getting the guy on the ground. He's making plays in coverage against the pass, however you want to put it. He played a lot of snaps. Yes, he is that guy.
Mm-hmm.
A really good tandem with Patrick Queen, I think, and the kind of inside linebacker I think the good teams need to have, because he's not somebody you got to sub out in either obvious running situations or obvious passing situations.
Great stuff with our friend Bob Labriola, not the Dean of Doom or Lord of Living in His Fears today. A cheerier, happier Labs here as the Steelers get into the win column against the Colts. Labs, thank you for taking the time as always. We really appreciate it. We'll be looking forward to hearing you on the pregame show on Sunday night.
All right, fellas, take care.
You as well. There he goes, Bob Labriola, Steelers historian. Hey, everything from Super Bowl IX anecdotes to Miles Killebrew. He's got it all.
Yeah.
He's got it all. Matt, we have some breaking.
I love that. I mean, I forgot about that, though. Chuck Knowles. They did not have special teams.
Crazy. One of the last,
they were the last
to hire
franchise,
a special teams coach. It is amazing how times have changed,
it's
right?
Crazy, right? But those teams were never good on special teams. I remember my dad telling me that when I was like 10 years old. Like, oh no, they got to bring out the punter. They got to bring out the kicker. These guys are terrible,
and
right?
Ball security were just not what they were now.
No, not at all.
I know I've told you this story before, but I remember during COVID, Moats and I did like that once and for all week, where we settled all these Steelers debates. Who's the best linebacker, and who's the best center, and who's the best corner, and who's the best running back. And Moats was like, I know it's Franco. He's like, but I just can't get over the fumble numbers. He's like, they're just ridiculous.
Look at Bradshaw's interception numbers. Right, it's insane, yeah.
Matt, we have some breaking Steelers news.
Okay.
We talked about how they had made an addition to the active roster. There would need to be a corresponding move. After signing Broderick Martin Rhodes, that corresponding move has happened. I'll tell you what it is when we return on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Well, Matt, we said that we would probably get a corresponding roster move for the Steelers' addition of Broderick Martin Rhodes off of the Chiefs practice squad to their active roster.
Yeah.
And we now have that. as the Steelers have released DeMarvin Leal just not too long ago.
Totally get it. I mean, he's been here long enough that I think you know who he is, and it's hard to find a role for him. I mean, he really is not a stand-up outside linebacker.
No.
And when he would get that role, he'd be kind of your big base end run stuffer guy. But all four of the guys ahead of him on the depth chart at that position stuff the run fine. Watt's incredible at it. Sawyer's provided you that at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Highsmith's always been good. Herbie's been getting better and better. So putting him out there for that reason isn't good enough. Coming out of A&M, I found him interesting because, frankly, he's always been kind of an enigma for the Steeler defense because I'm not sure exactly how he fits.
Yeah. He had talent. He's got a skill set.
But
there was just always something felt a little off.
And just kind of missing. I also think something he can provide is be a D tackle on throwing downs, as an upfield penetrator type, little undersized, but he's not better than Benton, Harmon, and Cam at it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So when do I put you on the field? Unless people are hurt. So I think they just wanted a bigger body. I mean, they added somebody that has 50 more pounds.
Yeah. 6'5".
Yeah.
325.
And that's not Leal. Leal's 280 or something.
I wouldn't have guessed. If you would have made me guess who it was going to be, he probably wouldn't have been one of my first names that I mentioned.
Me either, but when I saw it, I'm like, oh, yeah.
But that also makes sense.
That's fine, yeah. What's he doing for you now?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And hopefully for him, he'll get an opportunity to go somewhere where he can kind of, find a fit, a mesh with his skill set.
And I'm sure he will. He's got enough tape and pedigree that, he'll definitely get picked up on the practice squad.
Yeah,
the Steelers could even throw him back on the practice squad. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great point as well too.
Right. He could always
done
here, right.
He could always end up back on the practice squad. That is a great point by you.
But he's just not providing enough on game day for you.
Yes.
When do I put him on the field where he's given me an advantage over the other guys I could put on the field?
Right.
It's not there.
That's life in the National Football League, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. So DeMarvin Leal has been released. We'll see where he ends up, if it's back on the Steelers practice squad, if it's somewhere else, but that's kind of the corresponding move that we had been waiting for.
Yeah, and big bodies are harder to find.
They absolutely are. They certainly are.
Maybe
and that
they
is
can do something with this kid.
That is a big body that they added from the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad for sure.
No, it doesn't mean he has to be active on game day. He just has to be on the active roster.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he has to get a helmet. He can be an inactive. But I wonder how that's going to look with Logan Lee now as well.
I don't know. I'm curious about that too.
Because at the same time, you probably don't want two defensive linemen inactive in terms of your inactives.
Right.
And Logan Lee has been that guy recently. I'll be interested to see how that plays out.
I wouldn't
Sunday
think
night.
he plays this week, the new dude.
Yeah, just kind of.
Especially
since it happened today.
Yeah.
They're going to want him to at least get a couple practices under his belt. That's a good point by you.
You might need him
sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
certainly. But yeah, that's a good call by you. Actually, I don't think we'll see him on Sunday night. Would be surprised if there was
pretty quick turnaround.
That quick of a turnaround. Yeah. Matt, before we maybe close down with some tweets here today.
Okay.
We do have to talk a little Thursday night football tonight.
Yeah, not the best game.
Not the best game, but you got Vegas at Denver, Mile High Stadium there. The Broncos 9.5-point favorites. We did see some signs of life from Vegas in their.
It was better
this past Sunday out of their bye week.
Such a key for them is Brock Bowers' health.
Totally.
I mean, it's the first time he's been healthy since week 1.
And he looked the part.
It's a lot different.
I mean, he had like 140 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns or something insane like that. And they were a 2-point conversion away from potentially beating the Jags. That would have been a nice win.
Yeah.
That would have been a nice win for them out of their bye week. Any chance they can keep this one close? That's a pretty chunky number.
It's in Denver.
It's in Denver, but they are that proverbial team going on the road on Thursday night.
Division game on the road.
Division game on the road Thursday night, and also in Mile High, tough place to play.
It's an awful place to play. Yeah.
You like the Broncos? You laying the points on this one, or where are you going?
No certain. The Broncos are a little uneven. I think they're the better team, clearly. Now, we're also getting to the point of the season, I kind of mentioned it earlier, that Steeler fans need to start rooting against, like you wanted the Raiders to beat the Jags. You'd love to see the Broncos drop a loss here, especially a conference loss, because all these tiebreakers and things could impact the Steelers. I do think the Broncos win, but I would probably take the points. It's a lot for a short week, you know?
It is. Even for being the home team on the short week, these Thursday games are typically closer. And I realized last week it was just, 28-6 that the Ravens won pretty comfortably in Miami on the road. But that's feels
pretty
like
lopsided game. Yeah.
That feels like maybe more the exception than the rule. It just always feels like these Thursday nighters are close because it's a short week. Teams are tired and beat up and don't have as much prep time.
Yeah, and the Raiders are 1 week removed from their bye. Maybe they're still a little fresher, healthier, you know?
Yeah. That's a good point too. I think I will take the 9.5 points with the Raiders.
I'd probably keep an eye on, see if it goes to 10.
But yes,
that would be
absolutely.
Nice. Yeah.
10.5 certainly.
Yes,
would be fantastic. But this is a big one for Denver, man. If they can get to 8-2,
they're in really good shape.
They're in great shape. The Chiefs are 5-4.
Right. You get this win, then have a long week to whoever their next opponent is, which I don't know who it is.
Yeah, and they still haven't had their bye week yet either. So they've got some real rest down the stretch here.
Surtain will be back not too long down the road. I mean, no, they're sitting pretty.
Chiefs are only 5-4. The Chargers, they're 6-3, but they're banged up and they got a tough one against the Steelers.
I wonder, especially with the win tonight, what the Vegas odds would be for them to win their division. It has to be very, very high.
Oh, I would think so.
And I know people, rightfully so, value what the Chiefs can do, but that's a big hole to come back from for Kansas City.
Oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And you know what? I think I saw this actually just a minute ago.
Oh, really?
I do, right here. Playoff odds for every team at this point. So right now they have the Broncos with a little over 48% chance to win that division.
To win the division. Okay.
But that's before if they would win tonight.
Yeah, I'm sure it goes over 50 now.
Their odds are 90% to make the playoffs. I mean,
that makes sense.
If they win tonight, that probably goes up to 96, 97.
Especially if the Steelers beat the Chargers.
If that happened, I bet you their division odds would go up closer to 60-some%.
I would say maybe 70, as high as 70, right.
The Chiefs are going to get a lot of benefit of the doubt because at any point they could rattle off 6 or 7 straight wins and it wouldn't surprise anybody.
Losing in Buffalo, it doesn't
right, but they are still 5-4. I mean,
some of it's just math.
Some of it is just math. If you're 3 games behind and we're into November already, you only got so much time. You only got so much opportunity.
So Denver would be 8-2 if they win tonight?
Denver would be 8-2 if they win tonight, man.
Yeah, that's a stronghold.
And then they would have their bye week.
Okay.
So, sorry. Pardon me.
They have a long week.
They have a long week to host Kansas City.
And then if you win that one, you're pretty much set.
Absolutely.
Then you have a bye?
Wait, let me look here. 10. Yes, then you have a bye. Yes. Okay. So would host Kansas City, then have a bye, then would go to Washington, to Las Vegas, Green Bay, Jacksonville, to Kansas City, the Chargers. So
there's maybe 3 more losses on there.
Some tough ones, but you get Vegas twice. That should be 2 wins for them.
Yeah.
You get Washington, albeit on the road, but
they're
still,
gonna be favored against
that should be a win. You host the Packers at home. You host the Jags at home.
No one likes playing in Denver.
I mean,
maybe you split those.
If you split with Kansas City, you're in great shape.
I mean, you're going to have a rest advantage against the Chiefs.
If you win tonight and then you split against Kansas City, you're in great shape.
You'll probably win the division.
You'll probably win the division.
Yeah.
And, man, that is just to be impressive. I think a lot of us thought the Broncos could be good this year. I'm pretty sure you and I both picked them to go to the playoffs.
I picked them to go to the playoffs, but they're exceeding my expectations.
To win that division would be a big deal for them, and hosting a playoff game there in that environment, in that mile-high atmosphere.
Oh, a brutal place to go to.
Wouldn't it be? It would be so weird this year if the Chiefs and the Bills both ended up as wild cards. What if the Ravens, Bills, and Chiefs, the 3 proverbial AFC favorites coming into this year, are the 3 wild card teams?
We were actually sort of joking about that indirectly last night with Tim and Tom, because Steelers win the division. Here's your prize.
Here's Kansas City or Buffalo.
Comes to town.
Congratulations.
Right, that's awesome. Right, yeah. And that could happen.
That could certainly happen.
You'd love to host a playoff game, but I don't really want the Josh Allen or Mahomes to come strolling in.
No.
Or Lamar super hot, that's happened to just
I think I'd rather go to New England for a first-round game than host the Bills or the Chiefs.
I want the Jags to come here,
yes.
something like that. Right,
Houston, somebody like that.
Right.
Come on, man. But, yeah, certainly one to keep an eye on tonight on Thursday night. Can the Raiders continue to show any sign of life? Can the Broncos really put the AFC West in a stranglehold here as we get into November? All of that on the table this evening. We'll close things down with a couple of your tweets on the other side, some final thoughts, all of that and more. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Final segment here on a Thursday of the drive. And Matt, we have the Steelers' latest practice report
Oh, good.
to go through before we get to some tweets to get on up out of here. Here's what we've got for Thursday, November the 6th. Scotty Miller still has not practiced with that broken finger.
I assume he'll be inactive.
Got to think that means that he's going to be inactive again. Will Howard has been all of our listeners' favorite player. Will Howard has been a full participant again yesterday and today.
His window's getting close to closing.
It's getting close to closing. I think he's got a few more days here, so that's certainly something to keep an eye on. Chuck Clark back, like I mentioned this earlier, but back from that illness, been a full practice participant.
Good.
Corey Trice Jr. has not practiced yet this week. Hamstring and knee.
Yeah.
He
came back and he played one practice.
You
got to be discouraged.
I'm starting to think this might be the end of the line, as unfortunate as that would be, because they're getting close with his 21-day window as well too.
I mean, it could be the end of the line for this season at a minimum.
Yeah.
I mean, if he can't get
it's
out
just
there
a shame.
real soon.
It's just a shame.
Just one thing after
it
another.
Really is. Not good news on the Jabril Peppers front. He did not practice again today with that quad injury, so he has not practiced yet this
Wonder
week.
if he'll be active with Clark being healthy. Probably not.
Yeah. Cole Holcomb still has not practiced this week with that illness.
Boy, illnesses never last that long.
I know. He must be dealing with something nasty.
Yeah. Okay, keep him away from everybody.
Yeah, seriously. Alex Highsmith with the ankle. He was limited in practice today. I'm sure that was probably, he didn't practice yesterday with a vet's day. Today, limited. I'm sure that's all planned.
I would say Wednesday, Thursday, I really don't even care about Siamalu and Highsmith.
The veterans, yeah. Siamalu has not practiced yet this week.
I'm sure they're going to take it very conservatively with both those guys.
100%.
And I'm sure the Highsmith limited was not doing much.
Correct. I would think that was the case. Darnell Washington didn't practice Wednesday with a foot. Good news. He was a full participant in today's practice.
Cool.
Love to see that.
Good.
Jonnu Smith, also a full participant in today's practice after getting a day off yesterday. Cam Hayward got a resting day today, but then not great news with Connor Hayward, who popped up with a knee injury today and did not practice.
Okay. Well, sounds like Smith and Washington are good to go at the tight end position.
Freiermuth has
no injury issue. But the Connor one, they're sorting through some special team stuff. And he is one of the core guys. The Killebrew injury has a ripple effect on their special teams participation, all that stuff. And Danny Smith, of course, will handle it. He's done it for years. But if you take another one of his core guys away just for one day, it's hard to put those puzzle pieces together. Like I said, they activated those two running backs off the practice squad just for special teams reasons, really,
Right. Yeah. So that's certainly something to keep an eye on here.
Yeah. You do have a special teams advantage against Chargers, but you need your best guys out there.
Right, and they've already had to do some shuffling. We talked about how they had to move Ben Skronik into the personal protector role, bump Brandon Echols out.
Yeah,
it just becomes one of those you don't want to have too many moving parts.
No one thinks about that on special teams, but if you lose your starting left guard and tight end, and you're going to ask a receiver to play tight end and receive, it's not apples to apples.
No, it's not. And as you and I talked about, we've talked about this many times. You only have so much time during the course of the week.
Right.
Like you're getting ready for Herbert and for the Chargers and for Derwin James and for you don't have all this time to figure out how exactly you're going to deploy your special teams in practice.
No,
you're getting ready for the Chargers.
There's not that many sessions too,
Correct.
Periods during the course of the week dedicated to special teams, one big meeting a day probably too.
Yes. So certainly something to keep an eye on there. We will continue to monitor that. Obviously, we'll have tomorrow's Friday report and everything that's going on there. But Matt, that is kind of all the latest in the moving and shaking for today. So What do you say we get to some tweets here?
All right, that works.
Joe tweets us and says that the Steelers only had 52 on the roster. And so now, even with the release of DeMarvin Leal, they still have one more room. Wondering if that's maybe for MVS, for Marquez Valdez-Scantling, to get bumped up from the practice squad.
Good for him for paying attention. I don't monitor that stuff down to the.
That is not that's where we miss Dale and the real kind of boots on the ground journalism people here.
That's a good thought on MVS, especially if Miller's probably not going to play. But I immediately, when he said that, I thought, is that a spot for Will Howard?
Ooh.
I mean, they love keeping three quarterbacks. I bet they don't sleep well at night when there's only two.
Ooh.
I bet that's Will Howard.
That's a great call.
Yeah, because that is closing soon. He's healthy. They want that third guy involved. I'm thinking that's Howard.
We will. That's another thing that we'll keep an eye on here
And
to
they
see
don't
if we
have to
get
tell
any.
us that immediately.
Correct.
He's just going to practice either way. And
Yes.
Yeah.
But that might be something to keep an eye on coming down the pipeline here before too much longer. Let's see here. Steel Curtain tweets us and actually says similar kind of thing about leaving Will Howard within his 21-day window and leaving room within the roster.
Mm-hmm.
He said maybe it was because there are injuries in the secondary. Now
there was a lot of safety shuffling.
There was a lot of safety shuffling as well too. So you guys are on it. That all makes a lot of sense to me
Smart fans, man.
At this standpoint. It certainly does. Let's see here, man. I'm gonna find a few more of these that I had bookmarked here. Let's see. Jeff, here's the one that I wanted to get to from Jeff. Says that he said he's laughed how not too many people are really talking a ton about the offensive line lately. You guys did a little bit this week, but I think that's a good thing when you're not talking too much about the offensive line. How much do you think where do you think the unit is now compared to where they were in the first couple weeks of the season? In my opinion, they seem to be much better in the run game, improving in pass pro, but still need some work.
1,000%. They still need work in period, but really trending the right direction. I still haven't read the Brandon Thorne thing top to bottom. I probably will tonight, like at halftime or whatever. It's not like it's going to take long. But I thought 9 might be a little high, just the initial sniff test, but I want to just check out the other lines around them. But I don't think it's crazy to say that they're definitely in the top half of the league. I mean, because the one thing I'm going to hold against the Steelers line, it's not their fault. I mean, this is scheme-wise. They're not asked to protect long.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Compared to most lines, they are not asked to protect long. Now, Rodgers is like the least pressured quarterback in the league as a result. I mean, that's the plan here, too. You're also getting your desired results. It'd be different if it was like time to throw is super low and he's getting blasted,
Right. Different story.
Right.
Different story.
So they're doing their job, but they're not asked. Their job in protection isn't as difficult as most.
And hey, do what you're asked to do, and maybe they'll continue to build upon that and
I think
expand
that's what
upon
they're doing.
that. And I think we've seen a little bit of
And
that,
they're definitely
too.
doing that in the run game.
Yes. Matt tweets us, this is an interesting one. With the way teams are stacking receivers and doing the legal pick, and how tight the refs police defensive backs, is press man coverage going the way of the dodo bird?
No, but it's harder and harder to find capable press man corners. It was so long ago, but one of the first things drilled into my head as a scout for the Browns, and it was from the receiver coach. So when I got hired, like the first 2 days on the job, you basically go spend like 2 hours with each position coach, and me and another new hire.
Yeah.
We're in there, and then, what are you looking for specifically for this team at this position? What are your, I can't have short arm tackles. Some teams can, whatever, these are our parameters. All right, cool. So it's a very useful exercise before the season starts, during the down times. And immediately the receiver coach, the defensive back coach said, when you go into a college, you watch every human possible snap of press man coverage because you're not going to see much of it. And we need, you might get 30 reps of it of all WVU's season.
Sure.
It's hard to find.
Beanie Bishop's a good example in that regard. Yeah. Like, he was a consensus All-American his last year at WVU, didn't get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a lot of WVU people that were like, surprised he wasn't taken in the 6th or 7th round. Somebody, no special teams. And I mean, he might have had
probably because he was a star on that team, right?
He might have had a dozen. He had a bunch of, he had a handful of interceptions and was second in the nation in PBUs his last year at WVU. But that's because they had him back off the line of scrimmage ball hawking. Like he had
breaking on the ball. And right.
He had a handful of press man coverage snaps, and that was it. And no special teams. And
you'll hate hearing this, but I think you already know it. Pitt's the total opposite.
Total opposite. That's why they get so many DBs drafted.
And they last. 5th round corner from Pitt. Narduzzi had him playing press man.
Vontae Maddox.
Exactly. That aren't super talented, but it goes a long way. That you stick.
Not a lot of college programs do that still.
No, right.
It's a big deal. You're absolutely right. Here's a funny one from AJ. He said, I thought about this with the Colts game earlier. What was the more surprising victory over Indianapolis? The divisional round of the playoffs in 2005 or this past win on Sunday? I'm going to go with this past win on
I'd
Sunday.
say probably the past win on yeah.
Because I know the Colts were the Super Bowl favorite that year.
But the Steelers were a really good team.
But it was still the playoffs.
Right,
it was the
right,
divisional round, so the Steelers had already won a playoff game. They were 15-1 and in the AFC Championship game the year before. I felt pretty good about the Steelers going into that Colts game in 2005.
Yeah, a really good defense. So, yeah, I'm going to go with this past win.
I'm going to go with this past one, too. I was surprised. I
was kind of flabbergasted.
We both picked the Steelers to lose. That's the first time that's happened this year. But I tell you what, that 2005 Colts divisional round win is just time capsule stuff. That was such a crazy game.
Very true.
Such a crazy game. Let's see here. Cody, another question about that Colts game. Cody says, it's easier to talk about these things in hindsight, but the Steelers going for it on that fourth down and getting 0 points, is that still the correct decision?
I thought so.
I think so.
I mean, you can't judge those things on Monday or in this case Thursday. You got to, we don't have the head coach, the whole team, us don't have the benefit of knowing how it's going to turn out and all those things. But I think it was definitely the right call because at that stage of the game, you're thinking this is going to be a high scoring event. It's got to be touchdowns off field goals.
They just went 13 plays and scored a touchdown on their first drive. Right. Like we're not going to win this off of Boswell's
The Colts are going to put
toll.
a lot of points up today. Yeah.
And despite turning the ball over on offense, they still put up 20 points.
It's still great offense, right? Yeah, they moved the ball, and the receivers had big days, and
Totally. Good stuff on the tweets today.
Always.
Got some good ones. Appreciate that from everybody out there on the X Twitter. Thank you for chiming in. We always appreciate it. A big thank you to Bob Labriola for joining us. A little bit later than usual, but it still worked out swimmingly. Thanks to Labs for joining us. And thanks, as always, to our video producer, Mr. TV, Tyler V, for making us look handsome on the YouTube, and for young Nathan hanging out here and learning the ropes in the studio with us as well. For Matt Williamson, I'm Wes Uhler. Big show tomorrow as we deep dive into Steelers-Chargers, 5-Star Friday, our NFL picks, all that good stuff, your Friday fixins when we return tomorrow. Take care, everybody, and we will talk to you tomorrow. As always, you know where to find us. It's on your 24/7 home of the Black and Gold, Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.